Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. The first semester, we had an opportunity to look at mindset shift number one with the NIET folks. This is a national group of educators that have set out to provide professional development to um, educational leaders, instructional leaders, teachers, just about anything in the public sector or even the private sector. And so the NIET folks are working together with the Texas Education Agency. Last semester when we had a staff meeting, actually a couple of staff meetings, you were part of one of them. I explained that this organization was helping us out because Del Rio High School, even though we are doing very well, we are at a B in accountability. Pre-pandemic, we were on the rise to just, greatness, going from required improvement to making a really good score the following year, together with all of the help of all of the department leaders and, and you guys. And so in a short 4 years, this is the 5th year. Of course, there was no accountability last year, right? So that's why I say 4 years. The campus, Del Rio High School, can boast and say that we are a B campus, along with, a few others in the state. The problem, though, that we still have, and we haven't been able to just get over the hump, is how to communicate with our LEP students and how to communicate with our special education students. And by communicate, I mean that we haven't figured out a way to get them to the level of student achievement that gets them to higher levels of graduation. So while they're doing okay in some classes, they're still struggling in others. And so we're not in required improvement or target, but we're in targeted improvement, which means that we need to develop a plan and we need to work together to be able to get our LEP students and our kiddos in special education to rise to the level of graduation rates that everybody else is at. And I could talk on and on and on about that and bring up data and bring up things, but for this meeting's purpose, I'm going to just give you a little bit of information that moves forward to the next plan of action. The first plan of action, I'm not going to quiz you. I know you know this already, but I'm not going to quiz those of you who have been implementing this. But remember that the first plan involved 3 questions around clarity and redundancy. Many of you texted or chatted some plans that you were going to implement. There was one really good idea, or maybe a couple of ideas. But this plan of action for clarity and redundancy involved being very repetitive with the learning target. In other words, you were going to plan lessons where you were going to tell the kids, the students, what they were learning throughout the lesson, because they're in a virtual environment, they're at home, and there's all sorts of distractions and interruptions, I'm sure, at their homes. So the 90 minutes was divided into 3 sections, the gradual release model, the I do, we do, and the you do. And each part, I would say, is about 30 minutes. Maybe the I do is sometimes longer for you, depending on the lesson. Sometimes it's shorter. Again, depends on where you are in the lesson. Nonetheless, we wanted you to be very repetitive and very clear about what I am learning. And then we wanted you also to focus on telling the students, or even asking the students, why are you learning this? And of course, the answer shouldn't be because it's going to be on the test, right? It's got to be meaningful, and it has to be rigorous. And throughout the lesson, the other question we wanted you to answer, or we wanted you to focus on, is having the students realize that they did learn something out of that lesson. So just in brief, I'm going to go over this PowerPoint. I'm not going to go over all of it. Some of it is just kind of our plan of action that was submitted to the NIET folks. And of course, they're going to report back to Texas Education Agency and say that Del Rio High School was right on target. So the information that we gave you at the beginning, or kind of in the middle, or maybe even end of the semester, I think we started in October, was that we were going to do some walkthroughs and we were going to be looking for student look-fors and teacher look-fors. So what behavior could we gather, what behavior could we observe that was evidence that teachers were planning for a virtual learning environment? And what student look-fors did we observe where students were reacting positively to what you planned? Okay, and so it kind of looked like a letter that I have been sending you guys every week, has either been in a Word format or has been in a presentation, or what is that newsletter, that digital newsletter that I sent you all a couple of times? It's got a link and you can go on there and look at it. But the information that we are gathering on a weekly basis is given to you in either a narrative with graphs or a narrative with examples. But in these letters, there's always a suggestion. It's like, these are some great things that we're looking at. These are some great things that we saw. Please keep in mind and lesson plan with your team, lesson plan with yourself on making sure these components are also added. So there was always a coaching piece in there. This was definitely not a I got you or an evaluative type of classroom walkthrough. It was more for the entire campus to move in the direction of a 21st century model. Okay, so none of our walkthroughs were on DMAC. None of them are going to be used towards your evaluation. These are all just things that we as a campus want to show together. So do you remember getting?
Dr. Pettis, sorry to interrupt you. I just wondered what you want me to do. I normally do upgrade after school today, and I just need to know what to tell Miss Ahrens if I'm going to be able to make it over there or not.
Yeah, go ahead and move over to upgrade because we have a lot of kids who need help.
Okay, thank you. And I've been reading. I was reading through the PowerPoint, and I'll go over it again and just be sure that all of that stuff is on there. Okay, but thank you, sir.
Yeah, this is being recorded anyway.
Okay, thank you.
So at the beginning of the year, everybody received this chart with the I do, we do, and you do gradual release model. We did change it a little bit, especially at the top where it has mindset shift number 1 and mindset shift number 2, and you have the questions that you can reference. So for example, let's just say Mr. Ochoa is planning a lesson on, I don't know, chemical equations. And so when he's planning his lesson with Mrs. Torres and with Kelly and with Jessica, when y'all are talking about the lesson, how many times can you state in the I do section what the learning target is? How many times in the we do section can you say, okay, students, so again, today, the reason we're doing this is because of this. So the students have to have it clear in their mind why they're learning what it is that they're learning. And somewhere in the you do is, you're closing the lesson. So you want to be able to have students understand that they are, or they did learn what they set out to do. This was emailed to everybody. If in case you didn't get it, Kelly, I can send it to you again, or you can send it to everybody. It's in the appointment where we had our meeting for the department leaders.
I resent it all today as well.
Okay. And so the first part, again, is the gradual release model. The second column is for the teacher. These are the look-fors that the teacher has planned. And the third column is, since you planned this, can we get the students to show you these behaviors? And then, of course, it's a virtual environment. So we want to see some of the Google extensions, some of the digital tools and resources. I know that we use Zoom a lot, chat, breakout rooms, polls, things like that. Those are all very good resources, but there's a whole lot more that you can use. So in order to achieve our goal to help all students, especially left and special education students, we would like for let's say 75 to 80% of the teachers planning for these look fors. So I don't know how many teachers there are in the entire campus. There's about 120. If everybody plans for those look fors, and when we go do the observations and the walkthroughs, that would be really neat to start reporting to the NIET folks that most of our teachers are planning for these look fors. And that would be very awesome at the end of the year to go ahead and show that with data. So if you look at step number 5, lesson plans are to include evidence of clarity, redundancy, and rigor. So clarity just means that the learning target is in student-friendly language. You just didn't copy and paste the TEK. Redundancy means that that learning target is brought up several times during the lesson. And rigor just means make it meaningful to the student. Is there some questions that aren't just one answer questions, yes or no, thumbs up or down? Does it provoke discussion? Does it provoke dialogue between students or between you and the students? That's as simple as that. There really isn't much more to that. So once again, just a summary. What am I learning? Number 2, why am I learning this? And number 3, how will I know if I learned this? If you plan for these questions when you're doing your lesson planning, you're going to be right on target. Now that was for 3 months. For the next 3 months, we're going to do that. Plus, we're going to throw in 3 more questions. So now when Clint Williams and Lisa Johansson and Lisa Nielsen and Caleb plan for their ES subjects, and maybe Larissa, when she goes in there and plans some of these things, they're going to be looking at 6 questions. And they're going to look at how they can incorporate those 6 questions in the 90-minute block. So the next 3 questions are these. What will students produce? Number 2, how will students think through it? And number 3, how will student interaction with others deepen their learning? So that's the assignment, that's the homework for you to plan your lessons with these 6 questions in mind. This is a tool that you should have right next to you, to your scope and sequence or your textbook or whatever it is that you use to plan. Always have these 6 questions in front of you. And if you go through your lesson plan and you don't think that question number 2 is answered, go back and plan for that. Evidence of look fors. Again, we're going to be looking for teacher behavior where you have planned for these 6 questions. And also, are your plans yielding the student behaviors that you want to see and that we want to see? So if you planned, let's say Mrs. Torres planned a lesson that, man, it is worth diamonds. I mean, if we sold this thing, she would make a whole lot of money right off of this good lesson. And then Mrs. Torres, delivers the lesson, and she's got all 6 questions answered in her lesson, and everything's going really well for her. But then her students aren't really reacting to the lesson. They're not showing any evidence of doing or thinking or dialoguing with others. Then I can't count that as a point for Del Rio High School. You have to show that what you have planned for and are delivering is yielding some of these student behaviors. And Ms. Torres, I know that doesn't happen to you, so that's why I picked on you. I'm just kidding. It happens to the best of us, especially behind that Zoom screen, that darn Zoom screen, right? Kelly, make sure you edit the video. All right, so in the sample timeline, in December and January, wow, we're now in February, so we're way down there. The week of February the 1st, which is this week, I set out to meet with all 120 teachers, okay, to explain and refresh your memories on the first 3 questions and now the next 3 questions. This is not hard. This is not meant to give you more work to do. It's just when you're doing your lesson plans, keep these 6 questions in mind. That's all there is. That's all it is. There's nothing more, nothing less. Any reactions? Any thoughts? David is saying clear as mud.
I'm having a horrible time trying to get anybody to do anything, to be honest with you these days. I'm perfectly honest. There may be 2 or 3 or 4 in each class that might even try to do what I'm asking them to do. And even the ones in class, I mean, I try to get over and bother them, but given COVID, I don't want to hang out too long. But, you know, I'm just having a nightmare of a time. I mean, half of them didn't even take the semester test, for God's sakes. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it is what it is.
Definitely the way that this Zoom is working out requires different approach, because you're right. A lot of people throughout, I was gonna say the state, throughout the nation, are experiencing a lot of blank screens. But I'll tell you what, if you look at what is working for the students that you have that are showing success, you know, look at that. Look at all of your kids and say, okay, out of all my kids, these are the ones that are not actively engaged. These are the ones that are on the fence, and these are the ones that are doing well. And so, you know, count your blessings. You're doing phenomenal with a lot of stuff. You know, so pat yourself on the back, first of all, for doing the good things that you're doing. And just, we have to figure out how to bring some of those kids on board, because if they were in your class, they'd probably be the ones sitting in the back anyway, not talking, and
Yeah, this is kind of interesting regarding that.
do the work.
The whole idea of what kids look like in class versus on Zoom, and how they're similar or maybe not similar, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So just keep working. If you got one on the fence, make sure he falls over on your side, and bring him over to what you want him to do. Just keep going one student at a time, or a small group at a time. You know, today we talked a little bit about a teacher, maybe one of you here, I wasn't given a name. They said they did the independent practice on the you do part of the lesson, and she set up, or he set up, because I don't know who it was. They set up individual breakout rooms. So if they had 14 students, that person was able to visit almost all the students. Eventually you're going to run out of time, right? But the idea was pretty neat, that you were able to visit with individual students, even if it was just 30 seconds or a minute. And so it was really neat to see that. I didn't see it, but somebody told me that was a good idea. Somebody saw that, one of my administrators, and kudos to that teacher for going, just, you know, keeping the Zoom going the whole 90 minutes. And then we got the other extreme, where a teacher will start a Zoom, send them off on their assignment, and turn off Zoom for the next 60 minutes. So who knows what the students are doing. That's definitely not, you know, what we want to see. So there's always going to be 2 extremes, but we want to make sure that at least 75 to 80% of us are answering these 6 questions when you're planning your lesson and delivering the lesson. That's all I have. I don't want to take up much more time because it's already past 4, but I know Kelly has another hour to talk to you.
May I ask 2 short questions?
Yes.
Are there restrictions or requirements, and it may very well be in the 91-page handbook that I've totally read every page of. Like, can we make students show a face on the camera?
Lisa, you can definitely put salt in their oats to make so that they can drink the water, right? You can certainly encourage them, certainly have activities and things. You just can't say, you better turn on your camera right now, or I'm going to deduct points for hiding behind a screen. But you can certainly come up with ways that encourage students to want to turn on their camera. And there's a whole lot of people around you right now in this Brady Bunch group that can give you some really good ideas.
Show and tell is always a good way to get them to show.
Right, right.
Scavenger hunts, like next
Okay,
time.
my other question is, are teachers being evaluated in the same way this year? Or is it, you said something about like it doesn't count towards DMAC, but.
Good
and
question, Lisa. That's a
yeah.
good question.
I'm sure you've covered it before, but I don't know.
Well, no, actually, we do have some new information for T-tests. This year, the evaluation process will run its course, but when you get to the post-conference, you can decide that you don't want the evaluation to count for this year. So we'll give you feedback on the observation, the 45-minute observation. We have to do that one unless you have a waiver. But you can decide that you don't want that evaluation to count this year. Was that your
Perfect.
question,
Yeah,
or?
It is, because if you chose to do my evaluation tomorrow, I'm definitely probably going to waive it. But probably later in the semester, I'll be good.
Lisa, Mr. Williams was just talking wonders about you. How can you say that?
Thank you. Thank you, Clint. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions on how to go about your lesson planning? Make sure those 6 questions are right on your desk.
So whenever you were doing the walkthrough, you're saying that you, in order to give a point to our high school for following the questions or whatever, you have to see that student engagement as well. I have like my chat, for instance, set up to where they can only message me in the chat. So I'm the only one who can see their answers. So I guess like if you're looking in on that classroom and I would ask a question out loud and I would get all these answers in the chat, so I know that they're engaged, but you're not seeing it on your end. Is that something that we just need to communicate with you? Like, oh, okay, they're answering in the chat. I see this, I see that, just so that way you know in your evaluation what's happening, I guess.
Kelly, that I've seen teachers do that, and when they respond to a chat or they say, yes, thank you, Joe, for that answer, that's my cue that you're chatting, because I can't see it. And that's really easy to tell. But you're right, if it's secret, if you make it, not that you mean to make it a secret, but if you're doing this behind your screen and I can't see it, yeah, it's not gonna count. So that would be awesome if you guys can somehow say, good work, Lisa, or good work, Caleb, that's a great answer. That'll cue me that something's going on.
Yeah.
Good questions, everybody. All right, I'm gonna let you go because again, I can talk till it's dinner time and I know you guys have a lot of work to do.
See you later.
Thank you, Mr. Bettis.
Thank you.
So I just have a couple other things to show you that we went over during our department leaders meeting. So let me pull those up really quick. The student handbook has a revised section on the very front. So as soon as you open it, you should see it right there on the first page. An amendment, okay? So the main thing is that right here, the makeup work for absences. So this is a student who was absent, whether excused or unexcused. It has the 2 different sections with makeup work. Makeup assignment submitted, they need to be submitted within 5 days for an excused absence, and you have to let them make up the work without a late penalty. If it is submitted past the 5 days, okay, so 6 days, it's a 5-point penalty. Beyond the 6 days, it's a 5-point penalty for each day the assignment is late. Okay, so in other words, you do have to accept the work missed from an excused absence within 5 days. And then you still have to accept it after that, but continue to deduct 5 points daily until it diminishes, I guess. Something a little bit difficult to keep track of, but in case the event comes up, it is in their student handbook. And then here's for unexcused absences. 1 to 5 days late, a 5-point penalty for each day the assignment is late. Beyond 6 days, the teacher can decide to accept the work and assign a grade. Okay, that's for an unexcused absence. And I clarified down here, it says assignments or late work that is turned in late due to any reason other than absence will be subject to a 5-point penalty each day that the assignment is late, as long as it is turned in within 6 days of the due dates. Okay, so this is for reasons other than absences. So meaning they could be sitting in your class and not turn in an assignment. Okay, and it does still need to be taken up within 6 days prior to that due date. Okay. So if the assignment, however, you know, like I have rules for my assignment where I don't take late work past a certain time period and stuff. Coming back and looking at this, like I already have my syllabus set, I already have things set in my class knows. I asked Dr. Pettis about it and he said we will have to go back and readjust our syllabus and our things according to this amendment. So there's bad news. Very bad news. So just so you know, and so you're aware that it is there and it's on the first page if you want to read through it in more detail or copy and paste it, whatever you need to do. Okay. Any questions on that?
Kelly, did they tell the kids about this or do they not know?
I don't think they know. So yeah.
Was it announced in a school board meeting, Ms. Eglin? Is that where it was approved?
It was approved at the school board meeting, yes.
It says it would take effect on Tuesday, January 20th, which was already passed.
So beyond the 6th, but it says the last one, teachers may exercise their own discretion in determining if the late assignments would be accepted after 6 days, right?
That's if it's an unexcused absence. If it's excused, meaning they turned in a documented medical excuse or something like that, it has more clarity here. But if it's unexcused beyond the 6 days, then you can choose to accept the work or not. If it is excused, then you just keep taking 5 points off a day every day until they turn it in. So I guess they have to miss, what, be 20 days late before they would get a 0? If I'm calculating that correctly, I don't know.
That's better. So I'm sitting here thinking, oh, good, yay. So I'm the reason this rule got made after I sent you and Mrs. Segun the email about, yeah, I just graded stuff 2 months late. Please make this never happen again.
So it's here. I guess he said that they were having problems with certain teachers. A student was absent. They missed that day in Zoom. The assignment was due that day and they were not accepting the assignment again, just 100 points off. So I guess they're taking it from one extreme to the other. Okay.
The good thing as a new teacher, I told my students, I don't have an official policy yet because I know there's a lot of changes due to COVID. So I saw this one coming, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm almost to the point where I'm just going to leave all the assignments open until the end of the 6 weeks so I don't have to keep track of late points and stuff, but that's just to make it easier on me. Like I already thought I was being super lenient by leaving all the assignments open until Saturdays at 5 p.m. every week. So they had a whole week to do it no matter what day they were absent. But, you know, say they were absent on a Friday and their assignments are due on Saturday at 5 p.m. It's still not going to meet the requirements according to this because they have 5 days after the day that they have an excused absence.
Your way would have been an easier way to keep track of everything. This seems kind of,
Yeah, this is intense to keep track of. So just to make things easier on me, what I'm probably going to end up doing is just leaving the assignments open. And
What I'll end up doing is just not grading it until that 5 days is up. Then I can sit and grade all of them all at once.
Mhm.
And certain things will need to be graded faster because kids need feedback. But honestly, most of my upgrades are daily quizzes and notes. So,
And by the way, you can automatically assign this late point deduction on things in Canvas. So it does it for you.
Cool.
You can put penalty 5 points every day up until 50 points has been taken off or something like that. They have all different kinds of settings that you can put in there. So if you want to preset this policy in your Canvas assignments, you can. All right. The other two things were what Dr. Pettis was going over, and I did send you those in an email along with the student handbook. I sent all 3 attachments in the email earlier today. So you have access to all those 3 things there. And the other thing was resources. If you guys need any resources for your classes, even if it's a digital resource or something like that, let me know so I can pass it forward. We still have a budget that we can spend on. It's not like a huge budget, you know, to order, like, you know, I know Lisa, we were talking about it earlier, textbooks for all 180 of your students, but some sort of, yeah, like any kind of digital resource, a lab or something like that.
Like a whole building lab.
Building, yeah. We got ripped off an entire lab building.
Lab rooms.
So, but if there's anything that you see online, you want to purchase, whatever, just, you know, putting it out there, let me know. Even
So
if
what about like
next
teachers pay
year.
teachers resources?
The
Like, is
what?
there like if we find lessons on teachers pay teachers, like I've been buying a bunch of them that are, you know, digital.
Just let me know and I can always forward it and just see if it gets approved.
Oh, cool. Good to know. Thanks.
All right, well, that was all that I had for you guys. So unless you have any questions.
Hang in there, guys. We'll make it through this.
Ms. Agud, are we excused from getting evaluated or the waiver or what is it? Exempt?
You have an exemption, yes.
Okay, so we can just email, okay. I do?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I need to find out. I don't know if I have one or not.
I'll check, Kelly, to see if you're on the exemption list.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll let you all know if you are.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, bye everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Kelly,
Yes, bye, everybody. Enjoy the evening.
thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.